Hello and welcome to another night shift. My name is Yazil, and today we want to start our item system. And for that we want to build an item editor, and in the item editor we want to edit the scriptable objects here and generate a scriptable object. This will be later saved to our MySQL database, but for now we want to build that up and going to save that in the next video. Yeah, for that we have a couple of functions in here. We can go forward and back in our item database. We can jump to the end or jump to the beginning. We can add a new item, and we can choose the item type. Also, we can choose the damage type. We can add a sprite for the inventory, and we can have a model in there for putting it down to the game. So we may later on just use a name here, so a string, not the model itself. So we're gonna see that. For that we have a little structure here in our scripting. Under Yazil, I made a new folder item system, and I made a new folder database. Also, I made a new folder editor, and in the editor I made a C# script item editor, and also we got two C# scripts for the item and for the item database to build up the scriptable object. So basically we're gonna work with these three things here with the item editor, item, and the item database. Just put it up here, and first of all we're gonna start with our item, and we use here the Unity engine, and I built a namespace Yazil item system, and we have three pieces which are in these C# script. First of all, it's the item itself. Then there are two public enums, one for the item type. So we got an enum item type, and it's one-handed, two-handed, shield, armor, whatever you can imagine you can put in here. Whatever right shoulder pattern or whatever you want you can add here. For example, you don't have to be limited on food. You can have beer or whatever you want. And I just have one-hand weapon, two-hand shield, head armor, shoulder, arm armor, body armor, hand armor, leg, food, which is basically the stuff we can add on a Yuma. I got a ring, earring, necklace, then I got a potion for mana and health or something like that. I just have food in general. I don't split it up in whatever. Then I thought, oh well, we need a bow, and I need some kind of resources like wood or whatever. And I want to have something what goes for a container, like a bag or treasure box or whatever. And I forgot to add the bells here. And then we have a second enum, which is the item damage type. So it's none or piercing damage or slash damage, fire damage, water, air, earth, or magic, which is basically what we have on our character also. And then we just build the item, and the item has an int ID. It has a string title, it has a string description, as it has an item type. It has a bool for stackable. For example, if you got a mana duck or mana poison or whatever, or wood, you want to have it stackable. Then we have a max stack size. So for example, we want to have it a maximum of 99 pieces. And then you may have an item which generally comes in a stack of 5. So we have a stack size here. And then we got the value. For example, it's 1 gold or 5 gold or 10 silver or whatever. Then I got a rarity, which is, for example, an easy cheese piece is a rarity of 1 because it's fairly common, and our hyper whatever special weapon has a rarity of 99 or 200 or whatever. Then we could have an effect over time, like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then I got an item level, which could be the item level itself, or it could be which level you need to use it, or something like that. Then we got the spirit icon picture for the bag or for the inventory. Then we got our game object model, and we got our int with strengths, charming, agility, luck, health, mana, and we got our item damage type, which we had in the enum down there, and we have the damage value like 100 or whatever, and we got the resist, slash, fire resist, water resist, air resist, earth, or magic. For example, if you have a leather piece, it will be more protective against magic, like it would be protected against fire. And that's our basic item. It's not complete, I don't know. We may later add the one or the other thing here. We will see when we use that. So basically, here the item, here our enums, which are item type and item damage type. So then we need our C# script for the item database, which is generally an item database scriptable object, which of course is in our namespace Yazil item system, and it has a serialized field, public string db type for database type, and in this case is an item database. We could have later on databases for player inventory or boxes or whatever. And we got the serialized field for the list of items, and I call the list item, and it's a new list of item. So therefore that we can use the lists, we need to have, of course, system.collection.generic. So we have our item, we are able to make our database, and so we need to have the editor window. So let's close that a little bit up. It's a little bit complicated, so bear with me on this part. We're using everything we had before already. We had enums in the Yuma stuff, we had generic stuff in the save and load things, we got whatever. Everything we already used comes together in here. So first of all, if we have that here, we got a couple of private vars. Of course, if you want to have an item editor, it should be coming from editor window. So just delete everything we had here before and start with public class item editor window editor window. And in that we have a couple private vars, and one is the state we are in. So it's the top tab state. If we go here, let's move here again and just dock that on there. So here in the top table, we want to have the function when we are here, which is something, and if we are click or if we click here, we would do something else. So we need some kind of state, and then we have an int width. I have 400, which separates or stops the line here. Then we got a private item database, underscore item database, which is of the class we generated there. Then we have a private int, which is the item index. And we start our items at 1, so we not interested in the 0 item. We just want to have 1 as the first item. And then we have the private string underscore item name. We use that for searching an item. And then we have the save folder or the save folder path. So it's a private string. I called it underscore database path folder, and it is an asset script Yazil item systems database. Always remember it's a /forward here, and it's not case sensitive. So the first thing we're going to do is we go in our function for the editor, and it's menu item and brackets, then the parse where it should be, and brackets, and close that. So it's basically what we did already for the color and the other things we made scriptable objects for. So it's private static void init, and there are two functions what you can do. The one is we have got a dockable window. So the dockable window is just editor window dot get window brackets of type item editor, which is here our class, and it's not dockable, and it's not fixed, and it has the title item editor. So, and if you want your window to be in a fixed state, so it's not dockable, you have to use this line, which is an item editor. I called it window, and it's equal to brackets item editor, which is our class, and it's the editor window dot get window of type item editor, and it's fixed, and it has the title of item editor. Also, you can set the window side then, which is a new vector, which is x and y, and then after that you have to window.show. I don't want to have that. I just go with my dockable window, and yeah, let's look on the couple functions we have here. For first, it is our enum, and I just got two items in here. As you can see here, I got 1 and 2. It's the item database and about, and then we close that. We don't need that any longer. Then we have the function on GUI. We come to that later on. First of all, we go to the on enable, and in the on enable we just look if we got or if the underscore item database is equal to null or not, and if it's equal to null, we're going to get the item database, and we use the function load database, and it's the function we have down here. So it's a generic function, so we have to put in the type here, so we need load database and item database, and it expects two strings. One is the database name, it's in this case item database, and it expects us to bring in the pass. So let's jump to that function. We could just open that here. So it's basically the public generic t as a return value, and it expects us to bring in a t, as we have here string for database name and string for the folder parse, and we have a construct where t is a scriptable object. And then we're gonna bring in these things here together. So we build ourselves a string load parse, and load parse is the folder parse, and we add the database name to it, and also we add an .asset. Every scriptable object is an asset, so we have to add that here. Then we got an t with the name small t, and it is equal to t, which is an object, and it's an asset database dot load asset at parse, and it expects us to bring in the load parse, so basically the name, and of course it expects us to name the type, and it's of type t. So that brings us or gives us back the database. If the database is not there, we have we build a flag which is in Boolean, and the flag is equal to t is equal to null. So if t is equal to null, it's true, and if it's true, we're gonna go here. What you also can do, you could do and bring in the t is equal, and so on here, or you just say something like not t, so you can just get rid of that. So if not t, that means it is null. We make ourselves a new, and the new t is a scriptable object dot create instance, and the create instance is a scriptable or a generic also, so the generic is t. And then we use the asset database dot create asset, which is the t and the load parse, and then we're gonna save that with asset database dot save assets. So after that, we have a file in our structure at our folder parse, and then we just return the t. I know the generics are a little bit confusing. Just go line after line and read what you write down there, and it will be easy when you produce it. So after that, we got basically a t back, and the t we got back here is in our variable underscore item database, and then we're gonna check if the item database dot item dot count is equal to 0. That means we just have nothing in there, and we gonna add two items in here. The first is the index 0, and I don't want to have an item with the index 0. I just create one, but we just start with the 1. So let's look on the add item, and which is here. And the function add item, we just going to generate a new item, so it's item new item equal to new item, and we set the new item the title to new item. You can put in whatever you want here, of course, and then we're gonna say the new item dot id is equal to the item database item.count. So if we, for example, have the item 0, the item 1, the item 2, the next item we generate with the ID will be the item count. So it's 1, 2, 3. So the ID will be 3. And then we gonna add these item to our item database. So it's just underscore item database dot item dot add, and what we want to add is the new item. And after that, we just have to reduce our item index. So since if we stay at the sample we got here, after that we have the 0, the 1, the 2, and the 3 as a new one. But we have 4, the item count is 4, but we want to have the item index to 3, so we just have to say underscore item database dot item dot count -1, so we land on the 3 again. So that's for the add item. And after we add our items, if we call it the first time, we gonna set our state to top state dot about. So we always start at about when we load up our function. So that's for enable. And the next one is the onGUI. onGUI builds our stuff here. Whatever thing is going in here is going to be onGUI. And we start with the top tab, and the top tab is just our buttons here. So we going for, let's move there, top tab, and we use a function GUI layout begin horizontal. That means everything which comes after begin horizontal stays in one line here. And we have 2 buttons, and it's just if brackets GUI layout dot button, and then brackets the name of the button, and then we have the GUI layout dot expand with. So that means we just want to have it in this, and we don't want to expand over the whole window. And then we set the state is equal to top tab state item database, and we have the same for about, so it's just a button again, and expand with is also false, and we set the state to about. And then we have the end horizontal. That means everything what comes behind here is in a new line. So that's easy for top tab. And after that, we gonna switch on through our states, and so we switch state case top tab state dot item database. We call the function show item database, and we break out here. And on the second case is top tab state dot about, and we have show about as a function we call here, and we break out here also. So that's basically our switching the window in here. Let's start with the show about, and show about is just a spacer, and we got a label, and that's the label text, and the editor style dot bold label, so it's in big letters, and or in dark letters, or whatever it is in English. And then we have the GUI layout dot expand with false, so we just don't want to expand here, we just want to have a fix with. And then we have a spacer, and after that I got a text area, and there you can write whatever you want. And for a new line, you've got a \n here, so that means new line. And it's always, or it's the same GUI layout dot expand with is false, so it's just stays there. So It just cuts off here if we don't have the expand. It's going all the way down here. So, and that's for the show about. And if we click here, we go on top tab. If we click here on this button item database, we want to have the show item database function. And for that, I open that, show item database. And first of all, we check if the item database is not null. So we just don't want to start when we don't have an item database, which makes sense. Then we don't have any data. So we start up with an sorry about that. We start up with a space, and we have a begin horizontal. So we just start here with the item title. So it's an item title, item name, which we had on the variables up there, is equal to editor GUI layout dot text field, and the text field has a title, and we have the item name as string, which is this field here, and the width is the width minus 70. So we got that down here. So you just can experiment with the variables, so you can see what you like and how you want to have it. So after that, we have this button here, which is if GUI layout dot button, and the button name is find item, and we also don't want to expand, and it just will find item with name, and it's the item name, which is the field we generated here. So let's go to the find item with name. Let's scroll down here. Yeah, I know that's a ton of stuff. And in the item find with name, we just loop through our database, which is in for, and I is equal to 0, and I is smaller than underscore item database dot item dot count minus 1, and we add I plus plus on every loop. And then we're going to check just if the item database dot item I dot title is equally underscore name, which is what we put in here. And if that's the case, we set the item index is equal to item database dot item I dot id. So if we find something and it has the ID 4, we set the item index to 4, and the next update on our editor window will bring in the item with the number 4. And if we found something, we just bail out here with a break. So that's easy. Let's go back to the function here. So it's find item with name. Then we have an end horizontal, and we have an begin horizontal. And in the begin horizontal, we got at next this line here. So we have a label field, and we going from to the max count. So we got we start with a text item, and we add the underscore item index on add, and we say off. And if we go here, we going to see for the item database item.count minus 1, and we change that to string, and we add items behind that, and this is just empty, and we go for the GUI layout with 150. So we going for 150 in length here. So We don't need that. So that's the 150, and then we start here with the next buttons. And these buttons are just, we jump to the first item, we jump to one item back, we jump one item in front, we jump to the last item, and we add an item. So since everything we make is out of our item index, we just go, if we want to the first item, we just go for the item index 1. So it's if GUI layout.button, we have a text for the button, we got the expand with is equal to false, and then we just say the item index is equal to 1. And in the next update here, the item 1 will be displayed. And this is one back, and basically the same. We got a button, we got a sign on the button, we got an expand false, and we check if the item index we have now is greater than 1, then we can increment it by 1. And this is also the same. We got a button, and we just check if the underscore item index is lesser than item database.item.count minus 1. So if we are on the last position, we just don't want to do anything. If we are in the one before the last, we just have the item index plus 1 1 or plus plus, so we add 1 to that. And if we go or jump to the end, we just say our item index is equal to item database.item.count minus 1, so we jump to the last position and set that to our item index. And the add button is real easy. We just use the function add item. So that's for this part, and we now on the part item titled. So that's the part where we can set stuff, and we always use these function. It's always the same. Let's put it in. Let's go for something like this so you can see that a little bit better. It's always underscore item database dot item, and then the index of the item, then dot title or dot description or dot icon or dot model or whatever it is, and then that is equal to editor GUI layout dot text field or object field or enum pop-up or whatever you have. So here is the function itself, and then it's with a title, the item title, it's this one here, item title, and then we if we have an item which is already there with an filled field, we get that field out of our database. So it's item database dot item on the index dot title as string, and we set the width to the max width, so the whole one here. So it's always you set the variable with the title and with the field for if it is a string, you use text field. If it's an object, you use object. If you have an integer field, it's an int field, and so on. And then you have to get the value out of the item database, and you set the width, so everything is just in one line. So the same you go for description, for icon, for model. Let's go for the enum. So let's So that's it. So here's the same. It's an the underscore item database dot item on the index item index, and it's the item type, which is of item type, and it's an editor GUI layout dot enum popup, and it has the name item type. So it's here item type, and in here it's the value we have here already in there. So again, if you compare that, it's always the same you have here. So you build up our window with one line after another, and the only special we got here in is this one. So we are here at stackable, so if we change that, this stuff will be coming in or coming in into the window, and for that we go and have the item database item on the index is dot stackable, and it's a toggle, and it's named stackable, and as a value we get out of our item the stackable, and we going the max width, which is this, and then we gonna check if the database item dot stackable is true. So if it's checked, we gonna blend in these one. So we have the stack size and the max stack size, which are both in fields with the name stack size and max stack size. We get the value out of the item database, and we have the max width, so we have the length. So I want to go through that. Let me bring it in a little bit slower, smaller. So we explained all these stuff, and we have that here. Description, icon, model, item type. Then we got the stackable stuff. Then next is the int field, value, rarity, effect over time, and so on and so on. So you can see that again, which is not hard. And yeah, we scroll down here, and somewhere on the end you get everything. Just close that and you're finished with that. So always remember, this is the variable, this is the field which has a label, this is the value you have in there, and this is the positioning. It's always the same. Yeah, that's it for today. We got every function in here. Did we? We discussed the item, the add item, the find item with. We discussed the generic load. We had this unbelievable long thing on show item database, which is basically simple. We had the show about, we had the top tab, we had the on enable for starting up, and we had the on GUI for our drawing the stuff, and we got our enum top tab state, and we built our window itself with the menu item, and we have our variables. So, and we have Unity Editor and Unity Engine. So if you like that, as always, push the like button. If you like it even more, well, just subscribe to my channel. And yeah, well, see you in the next video, where on that we save the stuff to our database or to our MySQL database, so we have these values on the server. Happy night shift!